started streaming. Yo, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Akira the Don, live from Don Studios on this beautiful, I don't even know what day is it. Is it Friday? Maybe it's a Friday. Feels like a Friday. Anyway, this is my birthday stream. Hi, welcome. Shouts out to everyone who's locked in. This was completely unannounced. An unannounced stream. But we are doing Ask Akira once a month now, and this is actually a month since the last one. Time flies, right, baby? Holy cow. Holy cow. What's cracking, everybody locked in? Mr. Blue was in here first. Shouts out to Mr. Blue. First. What a bad mother. Yeah. What up, Tucker Zisha? What up, YouTube hero Alex is in the house. Oh, stupid me. And now we have volume. All right, there we go. Now we have volume. Yeah, nice. We have volume. Wonderful. How about that? I've increased it. Thank you, Alexander K, for letting us know it needed doing. Thank you, YouTube hero Alex, for letting us know it needed doing. Thank you, Close the Door, for being here. What up, George Cowdery? Mr. Blue, Tucker, Ｐitchits. What's cracking, everybody? What is cracking, everybody? We here, and while we see if YouTube sends any notifications out to anybody or anything, how's about we have a little listen to a song from a forthcoming wave. How about that? Would you like to hear a song? Would you like to hear a song, ladies and gentlemen? Drop some splash emojis, drop some wave emojis in the chat. I'm going to play you a song. First person to guess the speaker wins a fabulous no prize. Akira. Hey, what up, Robert? Shouts out to everyone who's new. Shouts out to the new people.
It's okay. 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 People say, man, you cuss all the fucking time. Why? Well, I hate to say it, the best way for me to get how I feel across, I can't sit here and say, you know what, yeah, I went through the whole weekend, man, it was really hard. No, that motherfucker takes your damn soul, rips it inside out, and then they say, now we're going to fucking start. It allows me to express where I was at a point of my life. If I don't give you all of me, why the hell am I here? How will you learn from me? People take so much offense to me. You will never learn from people if we always tap dance around the truth. We tap dance around the truth by finding the right words so I don't hurt you because you have thin skin. No. Tighten up, people. It's okay. Trust me. It's okay. You might be called one day. It's okay. Trust me. It's okay. It's okay. Trust me. It's okay. You might be called one day. It's okay. Trust me. It's okay. You might be called nigger one day.
Yeah. Hey, it's okay. It's okay. Honestly, it's okay. It's okay. You might be called insert thing that would be upsetting one day, but guess what? It's okay. Yeah, how about that? That was a little snippet from a very, 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 very epic album that I spent the past month working on, and it's complete. It's finished, and it's with the voice. You know, it's over there, and yeah, that's what's up. So yeah, prayers. Let's pray that you know that it comes. That it all comes together beautifully. How about that? I think it will. I think everything's going to be okay. How about you? You know, it's a beautiful day. I got hit by a car this week. That was pretty cool. I don't know if that's the right word. Ever since I moved to America, there's been one thing about America that's kind of bugged me. And in America, they have this thing that at a cross light, when as a pedestrian you can cross the road, if that's next to a corner, cars can still come around the corner and through the crossing, even though it's on a pedestrian light and pedestrians are crossing. And the idea, I guess, is that the people driving the cars like wait until no pedestrians are crossing and then go through, just never mind what the light's doing. This like relies far too much on the competence of humans, frankly. And anyway, that's always, I've always been a bit weirded out by those. And anyway, it finally happened day before yesterday. It was. I'd been out running some errands, and I was on one of those e-scooters. Shouts out to South Park, who did a great episode called the Scoots about e-scooters. We could talk more about that in a minute. Anyway, so I'm like trundling across the pedestrian crossing, just at pedestrian speed with other pedestrians, but on this e-scooter, trundle. And then in the way this always happens in slow motion for me. I don't know if it does for you. Whenever anything like this happens, it's in slow motion. If like someone's about to attack me, everything suddenly goes slow motion. If like a dog looks like it's about to attack my child, everything goes slow motion. It's like Deadeye from Red Dead is real. It's like it's real. Anyway, so I sort of look up and I see a car and it's coming towards me, and I think, well, this is a pedestrian crossing and it's going to stop. And I'm like, oh, it's not stopping. And then in slow motion, I'm like, oh, it's hitting me. And I'm like, oh, it's crushing the e-scooter. I'm like, oh, it's dragging the e-scooter under its wheel. And then, and I managed to kind of like sort of hop clear before it did too much damage to me. And, I was very lucky, man, because if I hadn't been on that e-scooter, it would have just smashed my leg into little bits, and I would have a smashed up into little bits leg. As it is, it just like, was sprained or something. I don't know. I rested in it for a couple of days. And I'm cool. I'm totally cool. Oh my God. So anyway, yeah. So shouts out to that. Shouts out to the driver was really nice. He was like really upset. He came running out and he was hugging me and he had all tears in his eyes and he kept thanking Christ that we were all alive and shit. Bless him. He was very shooketh. He was shooketh, uppeth. There was like a woman on the curb going, "He better stop, otherwise that's a hit and run." He stopped. Thank you, Jorek Deliat, for that €1 super chat. That was very nice of you. Shouts out. Shouts out to everyone locked in on the chat. Alexander is having a rough evening. This stream has already made me smile. Thanks, Akira and everyone. Well, yo, baby. Big up you. And I hope things improve for you. But hey, we're all here, man. What could be better? We're all here together. And that's a beautiful thing. It's a joy and a privilege. Yes, it is. Cara Brennan. It's your birthday. It's my birthday. Sync Life. Happy birthday. So glad you're in the world and contributing your wonderful art. Well, I'm glad you're here, Cara. Happy birthday. You bad motherfucker. You happy birthday. Oh, yeah, I forgot. I'm not supposed to be swearing, am I? Forgot about that. Anyway, yeah. YouTube hero Alex is out there moderating. Big up him. Appreciate you. Tower One Power. He's in the chat. Tower One Power, man, used to come like to the Doncast streams back when this was the Doncast and I lived in Hackney Wick. Stuff like that, man. Tower One Power is old school. If any of you new people like want to know what it used to be like back in the day, ask Tower One Power and he will give you the Grandpa Simpson explanation. Yo. Nirvana 8 Radiohead asks, my question would be, how do you reconcile the knowledge from Eastern figures and Western traditions? For example, do you feel a conflict between Alan Watts and Jordan or Jocko in some areas? Of course. Of course. Someone left a comment the other day on the most recent Watts Wave music video, which is fantastic, by the way. If you haven't checked that out, go check that out. It's really dope. And that was created by a fan, by the way, a very professional fan. Shut up, you. And loads of people really liked that video. I'm glad you really liked it. By the way, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've been upping the production of individual track videos, which is something we've been wanting to do for a while, and people have been asking for. So we've been doing that. And we dropped 3 this week, I think. And yeah, the Alan Watts one, Don't Do It. This was created by Alexander Kasselar. And it's all his footage that he shot It's this amazing drone footage, and he's manipulating it in a really sick fashion, and it really works with the song. The song's called Don't Do It. And I guess the song is kind of about, like a lot of Alan Watts things, it's a bit like, don't take shit too seriously, man. It's not that serious. Is like a really, really simplistic way of looking at the message of that thing. And you could say that the message of some of the other people is, do take it seriously. Your life is serious. Only you can save mankind. Who said that? That was me. But, one of the common themes across some of these speakers is that you are far more important than you think. That you being the best version of yourself is far more critical than you might imagine. It only takes one person to completely change the course of humankind's history. We've seen this many times in our history. These singular figures, these powerful figures who do something and it changes everything. Nikola Tesla, Elon Musk, Akira the Don. And so these would seem to be conflicting ideas. Don't take shit seriously. You're going to die. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Versus it all matters. It all does. But both of these things are true. And the reason that both of these things are true is because without light, there is no shadow, and vice versa. And duality is the truth of things. And this is why the ending of Game of Thrones is so dreadful. This is why what the TV show has done to George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire is fundamentally so bad, because what they turned it into is a song of ice versus fire. But it's not a song of ice versus fire, it's a song of ice and fire. Duality, both at once, both complementary, both necessary. Seemingly that at times that doesn't make sense. At times it's like, no, one's evil and one's good, da-da-da-da-da. But when you zoom out, you see that everything is a duality and everything requires everything else to exist. And that's part of what's going on with these meaning waves. That's part of what I'm trying to get across, is that we all have our part to play, and there is great import in everything, and we must look at these problems from multiple angles so that we may find the truth, and a sort of real world example of that, shall we say, is everything you do is deeply important, and only you can save mankind, and it's critical that you're the best version of yourself. But at the same time, you must relax. You mustn't take it all so seriously, because then you won't have any fun, then you won't enjoy anything, then you won't feel the significance of powerful things in your life that really do have value and import, like family and things of that nature. And you may squander all those important things chasing after your purported mission. You may squander that time with your son or your wife or your husband. You may squander those beautiful moments just watching a sunset. And if you do not understand those aspects of humanity, then your cause will become lost, and the purpose for your cause will be lost. And then you might end up doing something really dark, like burning King's Landing to the ground, seemingly for no reason, with no build-up. I mean, that would suck. What's going on in the chat? Yo. Dakota says, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and the story of Job all talk about this in depth. Indeed. I kind of want to do a Bible wave. How about that? Christianity is deeply Eastern, says Dakota. Here's the thing. Everything is in everything, and all of those messages are to be found. They're to be found. You can find them. I keep freaking myself out because I'll be finding the same messages in seemingly completely conflicting areas. And then, I found, for example, there's an upcoming, I don't like giving too much stuff away, but there's a Watts record that's coming up, and he's essentially saying pretty much the same stuff as Jocko Willink in it. And you're like, oh, Alan Watts, wasn't he some kind of like Eastern bizarro nihilist who thought that nothing mattered and you should just like lie around all day watching butterflies? Well, no, actually, no. Some people get that impression, perhaps from only listening to one or two of his things. Yes. Anyway. Much incoming. What's going on with you guys? Nirvana 8 Radio says, ice and fire, ice versus fire, beautiful analogy. Yo, that's the truth though, right? Because that's what they've done. It's just turned into this big stupid battle. Game of Thrones, that is. I could really, this whole podcast could be me moaning about Game of Thrones, and maybe it will be. But, we're just a couple of days from the final episode. And maybe I should leave my thoughts until then. I don't know. I'm pretty much like, I I'm Robert Baratheon on his deathbed at this point. I'm just like, give me something for the pain and let me die. Just let it be over with. Let it be done. Let it be done. A song of annoyance and subversion. Subversion, ladies and gentlemen. Subversion, the curse of contemporary literature. I have at this point from here, I've sworn off fiction. New fiction. I'm not doing anymore. I'm going to go through an extended period now of revisiting the classics. My wife bought me a Kindle for my birthday, and I downloaded the first 2 books I downloaded are classics. I downloaded Marcus Aurelius' Meditations, and I downloaded Norm Macdonald's Based on a True Story. So I'm going to read those, and I'm just going to read classic stuff, and I'm not going to bother wasting my time on contemporary nonsense because we've got another year of this nihilist cycle to get through before it reaches peak nihilism. How about that, by the way? I've been talking about this, right, for a long time. This 7-year cycle between dark and light, between sort of hippie psychedelia and punk nihilism. And so it would make complete sense that the finale of Game of Thrones, they decide to just go full-blown nihilist. Nothing matters. Nothing ever mattered. All those things you thought mattered, they didn't matter. You're an idiot. Nothing matters. Jaime Lannister, his epic journey, everything he went through, he's just the same as he was at the beginning. Nothing mattered. Oh, the Hound, everything he went through, even in the last season. His brother who he hated since birth, he saw what had happened to his brother and he said, brother, I feel sorry for you. He'd grown as a person. Nope, retcon that. Nothing mattered. Back where you were at the beginning. Nothing matters because nothing matters in nihilism. Nihilism is about the most boring ideology on earth. It's a very boring, pathetic ideology, devoid of responsibility and meaning. It is the antithesis of what we do here at the Church of Meaning, and it's overtaken popular culture, and it's just deeply, deeply boring. It's deeply boring, ladies and gentlemen. Even Avengers Endgame. I'm talking here about sort of cultural, the stories that have gripped our culture. Stories grip our culture, and they still do. Remember, we had Eric Weinstein was in here, and he was talking about how one of the issues of this internet age, when we're all split up into these different places, is that we don't have these cultural moments anymore. Cooler water, cultural moments that we all talk about. And I said, well, there's memes, so we do. And Game of Thrones is one. Avengers Endgame was one. Yeah, here's the thing, no matter how dreadful Game of Thrones has gotten, the memes are fantastic. The memes are still fantastic. They're actually even better now that it's dreadful. I think Game of Thrones might be the final television show of great cultural importance. I think it might be the last one, because a lot of the viewers are grandfathered in since before cable kind of collapsed. Since before everyone switched, not everyone, before a great deal of people switched over to streaming services, for example. So people, a lot of people who get HBO as a streaming service only get it for Game of Thrones, and once Game of Thrones is gone, they're gone, which is why they're making 5 prequels. The new owners of HBO are insistent that Game of Thrones is on at all times, but for example, the first prequel is The Long Night, which is based on the story of the White Walkers the first time they came to Westeros, but we know what the White Walkers are now. We know what kind of a threat they are. They're the kind of threat that can be dealt with by a noisy 12-year-old jumping out of a tree, screaming. Wow. So no one's going to watch that. No one wants to watch that. But yes, please elaborate on the 7-year cycle, says Jack Farr. I've heard you speak about it with Peterson, and I'm really interested, as I had noticed something similar. Yeah, I mean, what I said on the Peterson podcast is the simple version, which is that every 7 years, culture oscillates between what you could a shorthand to describe it would be punk and hippie, dark and light culturally, and as the late Andrew Breitbart noticed, politics is downstream from culture. I would elaborate on that and say everything is downstream from culture, and that's why stories are so important, and that's why there's been you had this kind of building thing for a number of years. People who were with regards to Game of Thrones, people who weren't happy with the deviations from the book, people who were like, well, this doesn't make any sense, this destroys all manner of stuff, and people were like, yeah, but it still looks really cool and there's great battles and big dragons, so shut up, hater, enjoy it for what it is. Even a lot of those people by this point are like, damn, man, this is dreadful. My suspension of disbelief can only suspend so far before the elastic snaps and the underwear that is that suspension goes flying off into the traffic and comes back again and whacks me in the balls. Jesus Christ, sweet Jesus, pray for calm. I pray for calm. But there are still people who are like, oh, you babies, it's just a story. Oh, it's just a story. Oh, man, if you can believe in dragons, why can't you believe in, like, people being able to teleport across giant swathes of land and people completely abandoning all of their meaning, their morality and their character? Look, man, stories are far more important than you think, fucko. Stories are what everything is made out of. We are made out of stories. Everything is made out of stories. Stories are what we use to describe the indescribable. Music does this also. You know, the best music is a form of story. We are made of stories, man, and the stories we tell each other are so important. And our giant cultural stories are incredibly important. And as, you know, as Western spirituality dies, as people stop going to church and things of that nature, those great big stories that for a while were told in church. They weren't always. Before that, they were told around campfires, and they were in the oral tradition. And they're the same stories we've told each other since the beginning. And they're the stories that help us to become the best versions of ourselves and remind us of our potential. These stories are very important. The stories of dark and light, of evil and the opposite of evil, of heroism and of weakness, and all of these things. These things hold us together. These things remind us of what we could be. These things give us purpose and meaning and direction. They explain what science cannot. They explain what materialism cannot. Stories are so fucking important. And when you take these powerful stories and you deliberately subvert them for nothing more than cheap shock value, to second guess people on the internet who might have guessed your outcome. So, oh, well, we're going to switch it up to this because they would have never seen that coming because it doesn't make any sense. Makes no sense. God damn it. When you do that, you fuck with the fabric of being, fucko. You fuck with the universe itself. You fuck with people. You fuck with the foundation upon which societies and people stand. That's what you do. And then people feel giddy and awash, and they feel like bad pirates. Bad pirates lost at sea on strange oceans who've forgotten how to be pirates, who aren't even sure they're pirates anymore at all. Shouts out to Euron Greyjoy, who in the books has an eye patch and ties people to the front of his boat and disembowels people and is a crazy pirate magician and is a wonderful character, and on the TV show is a gurning muppet. Because subversion. Yes. Daduta says there's a million ways to tell the hero's journey without subverting it. Well, yes. Sir Peppers, was this stream spontaneous? I didn't see any promo. Yes, it was, my brother. It was spontaneous, and that's why you, who normally hand over questions, did not hand over questions. Yeah. Pitch says whenever a medium gets corrupt beyond redemption and eventually dies, it later gets reclaimed as part of an underground culture. I wonder how pirate television will look like. Yeah, well, exactly. That's what's going on. The comic book industry is about to collapse under the weight of a similar kind of nonsense. And will be reborn again. And all of these things will be reborn again. But yeah, Game of Thrones is the last cultural event television show because it was grandfathered in from before the digital age, and all those people wanted to see how it ended, and now they know. Now they know. Expectations subverted. I expected something good. Yeah, and there won't be another one. Netflix is about to die. Netflix is going to die under the weight of its own algorithmic kind of precision. It's about to die under the weight of algorithmic precision, twinned with ideological corruption, twinned with a lack of true capitalist free market competition. It's got like a clusterfuck of things that are going to destroy it. Because while Netflix was early and it was smart, there's now great competition from everyone and their grandmother as a streaming service. The problem is the streaming wars are not being fought on the boundaries of superior product. They're being fought along the lines of exclusive content. So it's just like, well, I'm going to get that one because I want to watch that, and I'm going to get that one because I want to watch that. So when a streaming service doesn't have stuff that you want to watch on it, you're not going to pay for it. Piracy is rising again, you know. It's up 35% this year. It had been declining for years because it was like, oh, what's the point of pirating? I can go to Netflix and watch loads of stuff or whatever it is. But now, you know, what's on Netflix that you want to watch unless you're part of this algorithmically targeted demographic? The algorithms have said, well, that person likes the Kardashians and they're like, cheers, so let's make a show for those people. But that's twinned with an ideological sort of perversion, the mind control virus that's been going around. That's weird. That's been attached to the algorithm, so they're kind of destroying their own algorithm, because the algorithm knows what the people want, but then they twin that with the ideological subversion, and it creates stuff that people don't want, and they don't want to pay for it. So you're now in this situation where there's like 50 streaming services, and one of them's got Batman on it, and one of them's got Spider-Man on it, and one of them's got Game of Thrones on it, and people are just going to pay for the thing that's got most of the thing they want to watch on it, and people are going to start pirating again. Until you realize that you need to do it in the same way that the music streaming companies are doing it. Because the music streaming companies tried that for a bit. They tried the exclusive model. Drake album exclusively on iTunes, on Apple Music, and whoever else's album exclusively on Spotify. And they found that people didn't really want to pay for multiple streaming services, and actually they would just go listen to something else. And the artists quickly discovered, oh yikes, we're losing listeners here. This is not sustainable. So they don't do that anymore. So now the streaming services are kind of battling it out on being a better streaming service. And Spotify keeps implementing all these new improvements and making itself better, and Apple keeps trying to reply and do better playlists or whatever it is. So that seems a better model. And I think the same thing's going to happen to the streaming services. And Netflix is probably going to die because it spends so much goddamn money making so many god-awful terrible shows that nobody wants to watch. Same thing with Amazon, but Amazon's got a bottomless pit of money from people buying crap they don't need off Amazon. Anyway, what's going on in the chat? I should probably answer some questions. Would you consider Dr. Rupert Sheldrake? Sheldrake is on my radar, on my list. I love Sheldrake, yes. Don, watch a short cartoon called Man Who Planted Trees. You will like it. Okay, thanks. Please leave it in one of the Discord places. I might see it there. Daduta, do you think losing the creative touch is inevitable for an artist? No. Nothing is inevitable for an artist with regards to creative potential. It's very easy to squander creative potential. People do it all the time. By disconnecting themselves from the thing that allowed them to become conduits for the source, as Jack Kirby called it, the source. That was ripped off by the great, have I forgotten his name? George Lucas for the Force in Star Wars, by the way. Yes. Oh, that was it. Tristan Stout says Disney may beat out Netflix. I meant to get to that thing, yeah, because Disney are doing their own streaming service. And frankly, Disney has more content that people want to watch than Netflix. Disney has all the Marvel stuff. It has all their own Disney stuff. It has all the Star Wars stuff. It just bought Fox, so it's got all the Fox stuff, Alien. What else has Fox got? Other stuff. I mean, I don't really like anything. Alien was another great example, right? The last time I got so, disappointed by a story was Prometheus. It was Prometheus, and I stayed up till 5 a.m. on message boards for years, reading, theorizing, looking at little leaks of artwork and set design and stuff, and getting so excited because the story of the original Alien, the mythology, the universe it suggested, the stories it suggested were so rich and vivid and vibrant, and they were so linked to something primal and true and real in the human soul. And that was a lot of that was what Giga did with his creature design and his planet design and world design. And a lot of it was the stuff that they took from the kind of ancient alien thing, and that so much was just barely hinted at, and it left so much room for your own imagination to fill in the blanks. And your own imagination is connected to the source, and it knows what happened, so it fills in with truth a lot of the time. But then Prometheus, came out, and it was the same thing as Game of Thrones, and I just realized it's partly because it had a bunch of the same ideology, which was It was the guy who wrote, what was his name? The guy who wrote Prometheus. Wasn't he involved in Lost and all that stuff as well? And J.J. Abrams' world, which is basically a world of mining nostalgia and then adding subversion to be like, haha, see, it's kind of original. We've just taken this thing that was great and we've slightly rearranged it and we've like stuck our logo on it and we're gonna subvert the ending, and wow, now it's original. But anyway, yeah, I was so excited for Prometheus because I love stories, man, and they talk to my soul, and that was an ancient story that really meant a lot to me. And then the movie was beautiful and incredibly shot, and it looked incredible, but the story made no sense. The characters weren't real people; they were just plot points that just sort of lurched around nonsensically, and I can't do that personally. And you know, maybe I think about things too much. Maybe some of my friends, I have a friend, for example, who's like, can't you just enjoy it for what it is? You know, I enjoy it for what it is. It's just, you know, I don't think about it too hard. You know, ignorance is bliss, man. But I can't do it. Yes, maybe it's a skill to learn. Maybe that's a skill. Dadita, are you a fan of Moebius and Jodorowsky? Of course. Moebius designed a lot of the original designs for the first Alien film before Giga got involved. I think it was before Giga got involved, and they were sick. Yeah. Yes. Mark Pennington, member berries from South Park. Exactly. South Park really nailed all that. I watched the most recent series of South Park recently, and after I got home from DJing, I watched a bunch of it. It's so good. Holy shit. There are these 2 episodes back to back that are absolutely fantastic. Some of the greats, some of the television greats. The vaping one and the one about e-scooters, and it's called The Birds, and it's based on, it's called The Scoots, but it's based on Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. And it's so great. It makes this great point that I'd thought about. It was like one day we were all wandering along like normal, and then one day we woke up and our towns were full of e-scooters. And nobody consulted us. Nobody said it was going to happen. It's just one day we woke up and it was e-scooter universe. Like we'd fallen through a wormhole into another reality where one day we'd made a decision that led to e-scooters. In the same way, I like to think that one day around the end of season 4, beginning of season 5 of Game of Thrones, we fell through a wormhole into some Elseworld what-if universe where everybody was a moron and nothing mattered. We just fell through a wormhole into the moron nihilism universe. So hopefully we'll fall back. But yeah, like no one asked us. What the hell? These bloody Silicon Valley companies, they just get to decide, you know what, we're going to dump vehicles on the streets everywhere across America. I don't know, is this just America, by the way? Do you have these things in Europe? I do not know. Lex, hey, what up, Lex? Shouts out to the mighty Lex. 1791 is in the chat. He says, cool color wheel. Thank you. That's my harmony wheel. That tells me what chords, what song keys are harmonically compatible. Because I make sure all my songs are harmonically compatible. Don't know if any of you know this, right? But all of my albums are harmonically compatible. That means if you play them in sequence, the songs match together harmonically. So this is something you would only notice subconsciously, but it's a way more pleasing experience than otherwise. Julian Chow says, how'd you keep being so creative? Yo, this goes back to what we were talking about and we never finished, because I veered off on a tangent, because this is a completely spontaneous, unplanned stream. What was I talking about? Yeah, well, like I said, I've been doing this experiment since last February. So we're over a year in. And the idea was to get in the zone and not leave. There comes a thing when you're creating. Once you've been creating for a while, you suddenly find yourself in, if you're lucky, you suddenly find yourself in the zone. And everything just works and flows, and time speeds down and slows up and stops and becomes its own universe in a way that it really is, but you notice it or you don't notice it, and everything works, and it's just beautiful. You'll do a thing like just randomly hit a guitar and the sound it makes works perfectly with the song you're currently working on, things of that nature. Your computer will crash or throw up a random page and this bit of music will start playing, fits perfectly with your song. Or the words, you'll see signs flashing in the streets in the night sky, and the signs will speak to you, and they'll be like the title of the song you're working on or a line from something you need to know, whatever it is. The cities speak to you, brothers and sisters. And anyway, I was like, well, what would happen if I worked out a way of just staying in this zone, staying in flow? What if I worked out a way of just staying here and never leaving? So I decided to do that, and that's what I've been doing. And the way I do that is I just keep moving like a shark. Sharks keep moving even when they're asleep, otherwise they die. So I keep moving, I keep doing stuff, I keep working, and also I keep working on harmoniously. The way I just said that my songs all work together harmoniously, right? My projects do also. So each project works harmoniously with the last and the one that's coming up. And they also work harmoniously in clusters if you zoom out. The albums work harmoniously with the other albums, and then the batches of albums work harmoniously with the other batches of albums, right? So I keep moving, I stay moving, I work with things in harmony, I don't stop working, because I noticed this a long time ago when I was a music journalist. I noticed that albums by the first album by a band would often be just infinitely superior to the second. And one of the reasons I realized was they'd be essentially in flow. They'd be in the zone for the first album. The band would have been rehearsing in their garage for years, and they'd be very together. And then the record company would send them on tour for 2 years. They'd get rich. They'd start staying in hotels separately, get girlfriends, all that. And they'd forget how to work together. They'd fall out of the zone, and then they'd try to get back in the zone, and they wouldn't know how. So a lot of times their second albums would be terrible, you know? So that's what I've been doing. And what was the question following that? Do you ever take breaks from your rituals? These are rituals. And I don't take too many breaks, to be honest. Sometimes God forces breaks on me. Like he had me hit by a car a couple of days ago. So I couldn't go to the studio for a couple of days. I had to sit there with my leg up. So it kind of forced me to have a birthday, you know, and that was good. But, it's a constant state of learning. And what we've been learning, me and my wife and my son, is that the hyperproductivity needs to breathe a bit. And, the times with family is very important, and times to reflect is very important. So balancing, keeping working with also, doing these family things, like going into nature, going for walks, spending quality time. What tends to happen, I think, people will fuck it up. They'll go really, really hard on a thing, then destroy themselves. Then they'll take an extended break. And then the extended break, they'll get really into being in an extended break and the luxury of not having to do anything. And then they can fall out of the zone. So I think it's a case of sort of like siestas. I think siestas. So you keep moving. You keep those muscles. Muscles atrophy, right, if you don't use them. And the same applies to your mental muscles, your creative muscles, your idea muscles, all these things. I remember James Altucher saying, talking about how ideas were going to become the 21st century currency. Since everyone would have access to the same, essentially to the means of production, everyone would be able to have their own YouTube channel. Everyone can write. Everyone's got a supercomputer in their pocket. Like, your ideas become the most important thing, because everyone's got all that stuff. That doesn't make you special. Everyone's got a recording studio. Everyone's got access to Splice, whatever it is. Your ideas are what sets you apart. So to develop your idea muscle, he's like, just write down 5 ideas every day. Write down 5 movie script ideas, 5 ideas to save the universe, 5 ideas for things to do in space, 5 ideas for fun days out to have with your mother. Just keep writing ideas down and keep doing that and keep doing that, and your idea muscle will grow and grow and grow, and then you'll become amazing at shitting out ideas, and you'll be able to do it in any situation. You'll be in a lift with somebody, and you'll be able to just give them 5 ideas to improve their life. Boom, like that. And I've been doing that, by the way, and it really works. And so just keep doing. Make sure you're doing every day, even when you're taking a break. Make sure that you're doing one thing that keeps you in the zone, that keeps you attached, that keeps you tethered to that space, right? That magical space. Because you just want to be in that space forever, man. I've really noticed no downsides of being in that space. I've been in a very magical space for a long time now. Magical things happen all the time. That thing happened last week. It was so crazy. Let me grab it. 2 seconds. The fine gentleman at 1791, Lex and Christian, sent me a beautiful t-shirt. So I wanted to take a picture of me wearing the t-shirt for them. So I set up my little camera, and it was over there in the corner, and my Akira, my copy of Akira that my friend Stanley bought me in Spanish, was there. And I was like, oh, let me have a look at this. And it just flopped open at a page. And the random page it flopped open at, the first thing my eye saw was a speech bubble that said Don. That's such a crazy thing to happen. That's like 1,000,000,001 chance of that happening. Shit like that happens every day. Every day. When you're in the zone, when you stay in the zone. Volksmedicine says Dali would hold a spoon and nap until it hit the ground. Yes, he would. I went through a little period of experimenting with sleep deprivation. There's a few people who think that you should just only sleep as much as you really need. And some people throughout history tried this, and yeah. Some people, I've heard that attributed to Einstein as well, but I think it was Dali. That what he would do was he would like have a ring. No, he would have a coin in his hand, I think it was. And he would sit on his chair and have a little nap. And the second he actually fell asleep, his hand would relax and the coin would fall into a metal bowl. And that would wake him up. Then he would quickly write down whatever the fuck he was dreaming about. And then he would have that, you know. A lot of great artists over the years have used dream state and things like that to like get their ideas. Graham Hancock went and did some ayahuasca and just downloaded a series of novels. He just went and did ayahuasca once and he got a series of novels and he went home and wrote them. It's amazing. I've written songs in dreams. I've woken up from dreams and like hummed into my phone a song that I just written in my dream, and then next day I'll have that song in my Evernote and it's a real song and it's really good. Like, this is one of those things that we do not know the capacity of, and one day we'll be able to really actively... It's because we haven't tried, I think. We haven't really worked on it. You know, we'll work on it, and we'll be able to mine our dreams for reality. And imagine how much more magical reality we'll get when we're all doing that. Holy shit! Yo. Alexandra King says, I used to open the Bible like that. Yeah, it's a great thing to do. I used to open the Bible like that too. Sometimes I still do if I'm in a place with the Bible. You know, I was always a big Hunter S. Thompson fan, and Hunter S. Thompson got a lot of his inspiration from Gideon Bibles. He always used to shout out the Gideons because he'd be in random hotel rooms and they'd all have a Gideon Bible, and he'd let that Gideon Bible flop open and there would be a paragraph of just amazing biblical just language. You know, the language in the Bible is very exciting and powerful, and that was a big inspiration on Hunter. And I think it's a great thing to do in general, and it's kind of a good way of approaching life, you know. Let the book flop open where it may and just use what's there. I used to do that with sampling. Me and my old DJ Bird Dog, we used to go to charity shops and we would do sort of blind each other and shit and just pick up piles of records, and we'd take the records home and we'd put them on the turntable and we'd just drop the needle, and wherever the needle landed, we would sample from that point and make a song. You know, and sometimes we would do that with writing songs. I would just like let a comic flop open, and the first panel I saw, that would be the basis of the idea for the song. And you can do that in every aspect of life. And again, if you're in the zone, you know, if you're in a state of flow, you'll start to see great meaning in these seemingly random occurrences and random activities. And yeah, you know, it's all there. It's all there. I've heard Stephen King's books were based on some of his dreams, says Alex Gagnon. You know, Stephen King's a guy who's been in flow seemingly for decades, right? I don't know if he is right now. Right now, it seems he spends a lot of time being angry about politics on Twitter, and I don't think that's very good for flow. But prior to the invention of Twitter, Stephen King was like shitting out 2 books a year or something. Terry Pratchett, right? Genius. I don't think people give him the respect he deserves. Terry Pratchett released so much material. He was dropping so many books, and he just stayed in the state of writing. He stayed in the discipline of writing. You know, there's a lot of psychonauts out there who talk about mining the psychedelic experience, right? And those who did it truly usefully, the likes of McKenna, were very disciplined. Terence McKenna was a very disciplined psychonaut. Discipline is a big, necessary part of all this stuff, and that's one of the reasons I focus so much on some of the disciplinarian characters in our current god landscape, the Jocko, the Goggins, the Peterson. Dean Dart says, I've been inspired by Friedrich Nietzsche, where he writes about how psychedelics have profoundly influenced his writing and speaks at length about... Then that thought trails off. philosophy deeply. How do you think about psychedelics affect us after using these substances? Psychedelics are a way of navigating places that we're not usually habiting, shall we say. They're places you can get to via other means. There are other, if there are all these maps, there are other ways to get to these places. One of these ways is death. Another way is near death. Meditation. Dancing. You can find yourself dancing for like 7 hours to drum and bass and then entering a place that hitherto you may have only been able to access via, a particularly heroic dose. These are places and they exist, and psychedelics help us to find them. Bill Hicks used to talk about the squidgying of the third eye. The idea that you're not creating something, you're just revealing something that was hitherto unseen to you. And there's good reason for this, and it's because shit is so complicated and there are so many dimensions and there's so much going on, and we're quite limited beings compared to the potential and what's actually there. When we have people amongst us, they call them autistic, or they think they're ill or whatever, but these people who just have access to stuff that most of us don't have access to because it would drive us mad or we wouldn't be able to cope with it. The man can... It took me a long time to learn to rub my tummy and pat my head at the same time, and I'm not really doing it. The hand at the top is kind of trying to do a circle. It's very difficult for a person to do two things at once, and the nature of all these myriad stacked up dimensions and things of that nature is that that's a lot of stuff going on at once, and we just can't handle that. So psychedelics are just merely a way of accessing what exists but is unseen to us, and that's a lot of stuff. That's a great deal of stuff. Part of it is other dimensions or other aspects of being. Part of it is other aspects of ourselves. Part of it is other aspects of those that we love and those that we don't love. And that's why it's, there's a lot of research being done right now, and it's turning out some of these psychedelics are great antidepressants, and they're great ways of making people emphatic and things of that nature. And we're just at the dawn of a new understanding of all this stuff, and a new way of using it as a tool to turn us all into the superhumans that we really are, that we're waiting to become. And shouts out to Denver, Colorado, because they just decriminalized mushrooms. So that's gonna, there's gonna be some huge shifts in that area over the coming months and years. The Landy Lodge. How often do you meditate, and do you find it boosts your creativity? Meditation is something I need to get a lot better at. I've only recently been deliberately doing it. Previously, I would find that making music was my meditation, because when you're sat there listening to the same thing over and over on a tiny little loop, slightly modifying aspects of it, this becomes a great meditation. This removes everything else. It removes the outside world. It removes all distraction, and it takes you into that place that meditation does. So my music has been my shortcut to transcendence. It's been my pathway to transcendence. It's been my drug. It's been my sport, whatever it is. That's how I've done it up until now. But now I'm starting to realize, well, this is a pathway. It's a superpower. It's a thing I could apply everywhere in life if I have the discipline to calm my mind. And that was something for a long time I did not have, and I've got a long way to go on. I used to just be like, well, my mind is naturally busy. There's nothing I can do about it. This is wrong. There's always something you can do about it. It just requires discipline. That's all. Discipline. Yes. Julian Chow. How did JBP inspire you? In many, 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 many ways. Many, many ways. But the first thing that always pops to mind with Peterson is his bravery. His bravery to stand up and tell the truth. In a world where the truth is a dangerous thing. Well, can be. But, the more people who do that, the less dangerous it is. So, yeah, it's the bravery of Peterson. The bravery, I would say. Has Jocko ever mentioned your work on him? It's great. Oh, yeah, Jocko, if you go look at his Twitter feed, he tweets it a lot. He mentions it a lot. Yeah, we're in touch. I did the record with his permission and blessing. I when I'm making albums and stuff based on people, I reach out to them and I get their permission if I can. That's why the Joey Diaz song isn't on Spotify, because I haven't yet been able to get in touch with Joey Diaz and get his permission. So I wrote to him, but I didn't hear anything. I'm sure he gets a lot of emails. So I figured, well, I'll put it on YouTube, and if people will hear it there, and if they like it, they'll send it to him, and then maybe he'll hear it. Because I would really like to do a full-length Joey Diaz album, if he likes it. So if you're out there and you really like that Joey Diaz song, and you want to hear more, then send it to Joey. And yeah, that's how that will happen. Graveyard Goons, have you read the book Flow or Stealing Fire? Is that the one by Jamie Wheel? I've not read that yet. Julian Boone said, my son is preparing to join the Navy by listening to your Jocko work. Hey, shouts out to your son, and shouts out to you for raising this son. And thank you. Thank you. Landy Lodge says, courage. Yes, this is correct. Courage is the thing, man. Courage is the superpower. Holy shit. And as I was saying to Hercules the other day, he rang me up. He was all upset because he had to go to the doctor. And I said, Hercules, you must be brave. And he was like, but I'm scared. I'm like, the only time you can be scared, be brave. The only time you can be brave, son, is when you're scared. That's the only time. Otherwise, you're not being brave. You're just being, I don't know, whatever. But you're not being brave. Bravery requires fear. And anyway, he went to the doctor and he was cool, and he sent me the sweetest text message. He said, thank you, Father, for the encouragement. What did he say? The encouragement? I don't know. Anyway, it's very sweet. It's really an amazing thing getting text messages from your 6-year-old. Particularly because, like, you know, he can't, like, write and read properly, like, fully, very well yet. So he communicates in, like, speech to text and emojis. So some things will be wrong and some things will be more right than right. It's a wonderful thing. Multimedia Space says, lol, Akira sending us to the Church of What's Happening Now. The church! You know, man, when I was living in Colwyn Bay, one of the happiest times of my life, we lived by the beach. We were getting ready to move to America, so we moved to a cheap place in Wales where rent was £500 a month, and I just got healthy and ran on the beach and pushed my son up the hill every morning, went to the butcher, and ran on the beach every night. And mostly I was listening to the Church of What's Happening Now. That's like 80% of what I was listening to. I was listening to Uncle Joey tell me stories about his life. That's what I'm saying, man. We're made of stories. And just the beginning, I bought Norm Macdonald's book based on a true story. The idea is it's an autobiography. But as he points out quite early in it, he's like, any story you ever hear is not completely true because of the nature of memory. You know, you forget things. And you tell stories to yourself. You tell your own stories to yourself. And you tell them to the point where you're like, well, is that exactly the way it happened? I'm not sure. And you'll hear the same story from someone else and it'll be completely different. And then you're like, is that the truth, or are they embellishing to make it more interesting to tell? Because telling a story, it has to be interesting enough for someone to listen to it. And that becomes the reality. These stories become the truth. Very interesting thing. Alexandro King, is it the same with Joe Rogan? Album with the Joey Diaz. Oh, do you mean, is that why the Rogan songs aren't Spotify yet? Yes. Yeah, because I've not yet been in touch with Joe Rogan directly and got his explicit permission to use his voice in that fashion and put it out there. So yeah, there's in that, if a song is only on YouTube, that usually means it's because I haven't got permission yet. And yeah. So in that instance, always the thing for you to do is to send the song to the artist in question and explain to them why it's valuable in your life and why it, you know, that sort of thing. Anthony makes videos. When is the Goggins album dropping? Well, it's kind of the same answer. It's we're in the process of getting permission to do it properly. You know, to do it properly, because this is a proper endeavor. This is a professional endeavor, and I want to honor these people, and I don't want to do anything they would be uncomfortable with. You know, it's a sacred thing I'm doing. In sampling a person's voice or using a person's voice in such a fashion, it's a sacred thing because, like I said, this is their story. Stories are what the universe is made of. Stories are the most important thing there is. Using somebody's story, that's the most precious thing they have. Somebody's story, that's all they. That's one of the things, you know, Joey Diaz is talking about, right? In the song that came out this week, All I have is stupid memories, and I cherish them more than anything in the fucking world. That's all you have. You know, that and time. And you can't buy time. You can't buy time. You know, this thing here, this was a choice to use my time, my precious time, of which I only have so much left. I've only got so many summers left. That's what birthdays remind me of. There's only so many summers left. And I've got to remember that, man. Because it's so easy for me. And we all have our crosses to bear, and we all have our things. And it's so easy for me to stay in the studio and, no, I've got to keep working, and to put off going to the beach with my son and my wife, things of that nature. And I have to remember the importance, the balance of you know, spending those summer days wisely. People get so divorced from the life in their quest, in their work quest, that they become so divorced from life and from reality and humanity that their work becomes devoid of life and humanity. And then it's useless. You know? When God sent Christ to earth, I like to think of the Rupert Spira song. I had to become like you so that you could become like me. You know, and that's the Jesus thing. And all of us who are out here trying to do the work, if we forget why we're doing it and who we're doing it for, and we lose touch with that, then the work becomes useless. And sometimes it becomes worse than useless. It becomes actively evil. It becomes actively anti-human garbage. And that brings me back to Game of Thrones. Damn, and we've come full circle. And it's 1:58 p.m. And I've got to get back to work. But I do love spending time with you, brothers and sisters. So thank you for being here for this little birthday stream. Dandy Dan says, have you started spinning any MEANINGWAVE mixes live yet? If so, how have people received it? Well, no, I've not done any MEANINGWAVE live shows yet. But it's something that we're building towards, brothers and sisters. We're building towards it. And, you know, we crossed our first million plays on Spotify in a month. Just on Spotify. In the last month, we've done 1.10 million streams from nearly 90,000 humans. 90,000 separate humans. Imagine 90,000 separate humans in an amphitheater. All there for a MEANINGWAVE show. That would be something, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be something? But obviously they're from all over the world. But, you know, there are thousands and thousands now of active, separate MEANINGWAVE listeners in individual towns. If you live in Denver, there's thousands of your fellow Denver Coloradians who listen to MEANINGWAVE. Did you know that? So, you know, what we're building towards is a situation where we can go to these towns and we can see, because of the joy of this modern world of systems, and we can say there's this amount of people here in this town, so we can come to this town. So we're going to start doing that just as soon as there's enough people. And there nearly is. So you keep spreading the good word. You keep sending things to your friends and family, and you keep playing this stuff, and you keep tweeting Joe Rogan or whoever it is, and this is going to materialize. It's this, you know, and we expect it. And you get what you expect, or you don't. And don't get upset, as they used to say in my kids' kindergarten. I think it was something like that. You get what you get, and you don't get upset. Yo, thank you, Sir Peppers, from the birthday cake emoji. That was very sweet. Anyway, yeah, I got to get out of here. I got to make some music for you guys. Okay, so thank you for being here for this little shindiggery do. This cute little shindiggery do. And yeah, stay in touch. Get on the Discord if you're not on the Discord. Link is in the description. Subscribe to the Patreon if you're not on the Patreon. You can email me, akirathedon@gmail.com. You can come see me DJ. You know, the live DJ dates for my DJ sets. They're not MEANINGWAVE sets. They're like club party sets. You can just find those on the website. And, oh yeah, you can get, like, sweet MEANINGWAVE merchandise, like this dope hoodie that I'm wearing. You can do all of that. Anyway, yeah. Thank you for being here. This has been Akira the Don. Oh, thank you for the super chat. Scrappy Jaw Studio says, much appreciated you doing this kind of music. It's in my rotation with the church worship music on my Amazon list. Also a musician and father husband. Shouts out to the fathers and the husbands. And shouts out to keep it in rotation with the worship music. Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. That one is on, my son has a single worship song on his Spotify playlist, which is mostly populated by songs about Bendy and the Ink Machine. And then he's got this one, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble song. And he listens to his Spotify playlist music when he's in the bath, and he like acts it out. And sometimes I peek through the door and like watch him. And he's so cute, man. He'd be acting out all the words to his Bendy song, and then his Jesus song comes on, and he starts doing this kind of like worshipping maneuvers and meditation things, and putting his hands and closing his eyes and looking up. It's the sweetest goddamn thing. Anyway, yeah, shouts out to Spotify, and shouts out to playlists, and shouts out to you guys. Shouts out to you guys. We'll be back talking. I've got a bunch of dope podcasts lined up with some cool people. So we've got some podcasts coming. I'll let you know what's happening with the Goggins album as soon as I know. I'll let you know what's happening with new music. There's a bunch of new music coming up. There's going to be a bunch of AMVs and track videos dropping over the next week. So keep it locked. We just hit 39,000 subs. Shouts out to all the new people. Thank you for being here. Join the Discord. We hang out there and talk about stuff. Yeah. Submit your unanswered questions over on the Discord. Yeah. The next one of these will be prepared. So I will take questions in advance and I'll answer them rather than just occasionally glancing at the chat. All right. So, yeah. Again, thank you for being here. I've been Akira the Don. Let's go.